Good morning, students. I hope that you feel well. Today we are going to resume our discussion for chapter 6. So what I need you just to open your book and follow me. Well, we are still at the first page of chapter 6. It is page 33. What I need you just to go to the last seven lines of the page. Is it okay with you? You hear me?
Yes, Doctor, yes.
Yes, Doctor, we hear
Okay.
you.
Yes. So we are going to start with this paragraph. Students use the language as grades through communicative activities such as games, role plays, and problem-solving tasks. Okay. When we talk about this point, we are talking about classroom activities according to CLT method. So if there is a question, what are the classroom activities according to CLT? We are going to say the following. So we have games, role plays, and problem-solving tasks. Okay. What is the aim behind these activities? Activities that are truly communicative. Okay. So with this, we are going to say that these activities are concerned with communication. It creates situation in which there is some sort of using language. Okay. So activities that are truly communicative should be information gaps, choice, and feedback. By the way, these are the types of classroom activities. When I say information gap, what does it mean? It means that the activities that are related to, language itself should aim to have some sort of communication in the way that these activities will create some sort of social interaction. When we say information gap, what does it mean? Practically, when we are talking about a class, the teacher will divide the class into two groups, Group A and Group B. And the teacher will give Group A a passage in which it is not complete. That is the first paragraph of the passage. And then to give Group B the second or the completion of the passage. So here, Group A will not have the complete story of the passage. And Group B is the same. So what is happening? Here, the two groups will communicate to fill the gap between the information that is missed. Group A knows something. Group B knows something else. So Group B will tell Group A what is missed by Group A. And Group A will tell what is missed by Group B. So here we are going to create some sort of communication among the groups of the class. This is what we call information gap. Information gap. What is the gap? The gap that is missed by one group and to be told by the other. Is it clear or not? Just tell me. That is the explanation of information gap. Any question about this? Please. Yes, tell me, Mariam.
Yes.
Yasemin, you have something?
No, Doctor.
Okay, so what we need just to understand, this is the meaning of information gap. That is the gap to be filled by the groups when they negotiate, when they exchange the information that they know. This is what we call information gap. This is an activity to be done in a class which is adopting CLT method. An activity in which students will have some sort of social interaction. Clear? Okay.
Yes, doctor.
Now, an information gap exists when, you see now, when person in an exchange knows something the other person does not know. This is what I said. The speaker has a choice of what to say and how to say it. So here, there is some sort of a freedom. Students are not restricted to talk, okay? They have the free choice to say what they want to say and how to say it, okay? True communication is purposeful. Okay, this is very important. What do you say true communication? What's meant by true communication? When I say true communication, it means that communication that achieves the aim. That is what? The use of language and to satisfy the needs. This is what we call true communication. So here, it is not, I mean, communication for the sake of communication. No, it is a communication just to achieve aims. That is what? Using language and satisfy needs. A speaker can evaluate whether or not his purpose has been achieved based upon the information he receives from the listener. And this is very important. You know that when we have communication, we have listener and speaker. Okay. When I speak, I have to have an aim. What is the aim? To transfer, to what? To transmit what I have to the other part. So if I'm sure that the listener is understanding me, it means that I achieved my aim. Now, when I talk to you just now, when I'm sure that you are understanding me, I achieved my aim of talking. That is what? That is what I have to be transmitted. You know the word transmitted, transferred to you. Okay, what I have in mind now, it is what? It is shifted to your mind. This is what we call the, let me say, purposeful communication, the way that you are achieving your aim of communication as a speaker. To check that the listener is understanding what you said. Now, we move to the other page, that is 34. We have, in the second paragraph, we have very important point. That is what? What is the role of the teacher according to CLT? What is the role of the teacher according to CLT? Let us see. The teacher facilitates communication in the classroom. Okay, so one of the most important roles of teacher is to facilitate. So the teacher is a facilitator. Why to say a facilitator? To make the task or to make the activity clear to students. Facilitate means make something easy. Okay, so at the beginning, the teacher will explain the activity, what is required. So now students are able just to do it because it is clear to them and it is easier to be done. So this is the first role, that is a teacher is a facilitator. If I ask you what's meant by a facilitator, it means that the teacher is explaining and making things easier to students for the activities to be done in the classroom. One of the major responsibilities to establish situation. Okay, so here another role, that is what? Establisher or initiator of a classroom talk. What does this mean? It means that the teacher is responsible to begin classroom talk. Okay, students cannot talk without having the beginning. So the beginning will be by the teacher. So the teacher is the initiator, the beginner, or the starter, or establisher of a classroom talk. He will lead the classroom talk, or he will organize it at the beginning, and then to make students free to talk. So here, what do we have? A facilitator, and then we have establisher of a classroom talk. So one of his major responsibilities is to establish a situation likely to promote communication. During the activity, he acts as an advisor. Okay, this is another role. So what do we have? What do we have? We have facilitator, establisher of classroom talk, and then what do we have? Advisor. What does it mean, advisor? It means that students will ask the teacher if there is some sort of suggestion to be given to them. So he is going to advise them, to tell them what is to be done, okay, if they need his advice. So advisor. Okay. Answering students' question, and okay, so the teacher is advisor, answering student question, and then what do we have? Monitoring their performance. So there is another role, monitor. So how many roles that do we have so far? We have, let me say, facilitator, establisher of classroom talk, advisor, and we have monitor. What does it mean, monitor? It means that the teacher will observe the students talk and to check their errors and mistakes. So he is going to be a monitor. He's going to monitor the students talk, and if there are an error, he will write it down just to check their performance. Okay. Up to this point, is it clear? I mean, the role of the teacher according to CLT, is there any problem to understand them? Because this is very important. You have to recognize these different roles. Okay. He might make notes of their errors to be worked on at a later time during more accuracy-based activities. Okay. You remember when we said something about accuracy and fluency, we said that we have some sort of balance between the two according to CLT, in which accuracy is not to be neglected, but the emphasis will be for fluency. For this, we are going to say that for the teacher, he will design an activity in which there is no immediate correction. Later on, the correction will be done in other activities. Okay, so accuracy is not to be neglected, but it will be shifted to another time. At other times, he might be a co-communicator engaging in communicative activity along with the students. Okay, there is another role. Okay, we are going to enumerate them. Okay, facilitator, establisher of classroom talk, advisor, monitor, and we have co-communicator, and this is very important. Co-communicator, what does it mean? He may interfere with the groups. You know, the class will be divided into groups. Okay, if the groups will be divided, the teacher will monitor, but sometimes he can interfere. He goes, for example, to group A, and he will be just like one of them, and just to see if there is a problem to what to help, or to what to, make talk more. What does it mean? It means that if he feels that group A cannot talk more, he can advise them or to tell them something just to continue classroom talk in the way that he can suggest certain topics to be done in the activity. So he will be co-communicator. as if he is one of the groups, but he is not really one of the group because he is still as a teacher. Is it clear when I say co-communicator or not? Just tell me. Any question about this?
No.
Okay. They are actively engaged in negotiating, meaning in trying to make themselves understood and in understanding our even when their knowledge of target language is incomplete. So here, when we are saying that the teacher is a co-communicator, what does it mean? It means that students will not have a complete mastery or a complete control of the language. Of course, they are still learners, so they need teachers to interfere in which there is some sort of help, there is some sort of assistance in the way that they can continue classroom talk. So when we say that, why teachers can play as a co-communicator, because the teacher is supposed to have a complete mastery of language. That is what the target language. But students cannot, because still they are learners. So he is going to interfere because he knows that their knowledge of the target language is incomplete. So that's why he is going to interfere here and there. Since the teacher's role is less dominant than in a teacher-centered method, students are seen as more responsible managers of their own learning. This is very, very important. Since the teacher's role is less dominant, what does it mean? Here, when we are talking about the teacher's role, when we consider these different roles in the way that the teacher is not having the full control of the classroom talk, what does it mean? It means students have some sort of freedom. They here, when we talk about CLT, we are going to say that this is learner-centered teaching. Okay, so it is not teacher-centered. So the teacher is not the controller of everything. Students have the freedom, and when they are going to be divided into groups, there is a head of the group, and there are the participants are having the responsibility. Here, when we talk about classroom talk, students have their own responsibilities. One is to be the leader of the group, and the others are members, and they are going to follow the instructions of the leader of the group, rather than just to have the instructions just to be given by the teacher. So the teacher has no full control of the classroom talk, in the way that students are to be divided into groups, and each group has some sort of roles, has some sort of responsibilities, and these responsibilities have some sort of freedom for students. Students are not just to be, let me say, parrots for the teacher. No, they have the full right to use the language to express their own ideas, their own personal thoughts. Got the point or not? Just tell me.
Yes, doctor.
Doctor,
Any question about this?
Doctor, the teacher will deal with student inequality or fluency.
No. Yes, I mean, when we are talking about this point, when we say the teacher is less dominant, I believe that you have the book with you, and when I read this point, you have to consider, what does this mean? When I say the teacher is less dominant, what does it mean? It means that he has no full control. The teacher is not controlling everything in the class. The students have some sort of freedom in classroom talk. When they are going to be divided into groups, each group has what? Has a head. And this head is having some sort of freedom and flexibility rather than just to have the instructions from the teacher. This is the point, Yasemin. It's not about accuracy and fluency. It's about
Doctor,
the
so when they
control of the control of the class. The control of the class.
make a mistake students, he will tell them
we said,
later. Or
Yasemin. When we say there are mistakes, of course, the teacher is what? We said that the teacher is a monitor. The teacher will write down in the note what are the mistakes. Later on in the other lesson, he will correct. But the lesson will go. The lesson will go and the classroom talk will continue. Because this is what we call a fluency-based activity. A fluency-based activity. So here the emphasis in this lesson in particular, what the emphasis is on fluency. And the teacher is what? Is a monitor. He is observing the classroom talk and writing down the mistakes in order just to be corrected later in another lesson. Clear, Yasemin, or not? Just
yes, thank you.
no, it's okay. Well, so what the point that we said that the teacher is less dominant. The teacher is not having the full control of the lesson or the classroom activities. There are different leaders as we have different groups. The teacher may present some part of the lesson, such as when working with linguistic accuracy. Okay. Now, when we say that the students are doing most of the activities, so what is the role of the teacher? The teacher will explain something which is related to, for example, grammar or any things that are related to language itself. So the teacher is going to explain things that are new to students. So here when we say that the teacher is a facilitator, the teacher is a monitor, the teacher is establisher of classroom talk, the teacher is a co-communicator, but we didn't say that the teacher is explaining. Here in this point, we are going to say the teacher is going to explain what is new to students. The students will practice the language, practice what they know. But here, when we talk about the teacher will explain. But what to explain? To explain what is new to students. To explain things that they don't know. Okay, but here this role is very minimized. You know, minimized is very little. When we say that explanation will not take the time of the lesson, maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, okay? But most of the time is for students. And for this, you have to keep in your mind, what is the slogan? You know slogan? The slogan of this method, teach little, practice more. Keep it in your mind. Teach little, practice more. What does it mean? It means that you have to give as much as possible opportunities and chances to students to practice the language and to have a very little and very limited time for the teacher to explain. The teacher will explain for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Our students will take most of the time of the lesson. Clear or not? Just tell me.
Yes,
Students?
clear. Yes, clear.
Okay. So when we talk about this, we are going to talk about STT and TTT. STT and TTT. What does it mean? These are abbreviation. STT, it means that student talk time. This is STT, student talk time. What is TTT? Teacher talk time. Teacher talk time. So what do we have? STT and TTT. So here, according to CLT, STT is maximized. TTT is minimized. You know, minimized. Clear or not? Just tell me. So here,
Yes.
when we are talking about this, you have to know, according to CLT, STT is maximized. We are going to give students, much time just to what? To practice the language, and to give little time to the teacher to explain what is new to students. Okay, so still we are talking about the teacher role, and of course we are on page 34 in the book. We are talking about the teacher role. We said that the teacher may present some part of the lesson, such as when working with linguistic accuracy. At other times, he or she is is a facilitator of the activities, but he does not always himself interact with the students. Students interact a great deal with one another. They do this in various configuration. What does it mean, various configuration? Here, when we talk about students talk, okay, when they have activities. By the way, what are the activities to be done in a class? A passage, or an exercise for grammar, or a dialogue, or vocabularies that are to be used in certain exercises. Here, the students will engage in a communication as they are divided into groups, and among the groups here, the activities will be done. I mean, the teacher will not answer the exercise. The teacher will not explain everything in the passage. The teacher will not answer the questions of the passage for the students. Students themselves do everything. They answer exercises. They answer the question of the passage, if there is a passage. They answer the exercises that are related to grammar. How can they answer? Of course, through discussion. The group will contain different students. Some are good, some are, in a different level. Okay, so they help one another in the way that they are talking, they are discussing what is required, and they are going to reach the, let me say, the correct answer. Is it clear now? So it will not be done all by the teacher. It means that students can do most of the things that are to be required. And if they need help, they go to the teacher. So the teacher will not do everything. You have to consider that most of the things that are to be done through interaction among the students. Okay, they do in various configurations. What does it mean, various? We said that we have some sort of division of the classroom. Activities. We have activities to be done pair. We have pair work, and we have a group work. So these are, let me say, different types of division. That is what we call various configuration. Either just to have pair work, or we have a group work. Do you know the difference between the two? I explained this earlier, if you remember.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Fatma, can you tell me what is the difference between pair work and group work?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes, the difference between them that when we have a group work, we are going to divide the students in a group, and each group make and each group I will giving a question, and each group going to explain this question and giving me the correct answer, and of course in each group we are going In each group, we are going.
Yeah. No. Okay. Here, when we say pair work, it means that an activity to be done by two students. You know, pair. Pair, it means two
Just like
students.
a dialogue.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So here, when we are talking about group work, it means that an activity which has, let me say, more than two. So here we have pair work, group work, and with the group work, what do we have? Small groups and whole group. What does it mean? Pair work, it's clear when we have two. Small groups, it means that the class, suppose that the class is about 30 students. I can divide the class into 6 groups. Each group has 5 students. So this is what we call small groups. And we have, let me say, another division. That is what? To make 2 groups, Group A and Group B. Group A, 15 students. Group B, 15 students. Totally, what do we have? 30 students. This is what we call. And then we have an activity to be done by the whole group. That is the whole class. So this is what we call different configuration, various configuration of the activities. Pair work, a small group, the whole group. This is what we call the different configurations or various configuration of what? Of a classroom activity.
Also, we can say that we don't have individual work in the
Yeah. Can you tell me why? Fatma, can you tell me why?
Because we have activity, and each activity we should to discuss by each students.
No, I'm going to tell you. Okay, if you tell me this way, I'm going to I'm going to tell you something else. Do you remember in the previous lecture what did you say, that the aim behind teaching just to have what? A social context. When there is an activity to be done individually, where is the social context? There must be a social context. This is the idea. Because according to CLT, there must be, if you remember in the previous lecture, we said that there must be the aim of teaching just what? To have a social context. An activity to be done individually, that is by one student, there is no social context. Where is it?
We should to have communicative between
to create communication, there must be at least two. That is one speaker and the other is listener.
Okay.
Yes, doctor. The main aim of communicative approach that speaking in the target language.
Yeah.
So the pair, the pair or the group, the pair work or the group work, to both must speaking in a target language.
Very good.
Play a pair work, speaker and listener, and the
very
group work like class role plays, and on the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Now, what do we have also? Activities in CLT are often carried out by students in a smaller group. So most of the activities just to be done by smaller groups. Small number of students interacting are favored in order to maximize the time allotted to each student for communicating. Now, what is the meaning of the time allotted for communication? You know, when the groups are small, there is a chance for each student to talk. When there is a large group, the chance for each student to talk will be very little. So here, when we are talking about smaller groups can achieve effective communication. That is what? It will be a chance for students to talk rather than just to have larger group. Now I'm going to give you an example. Now you as 3-year class students, what is the total number of students? 189. If we are going to have you in one class, okay, it means that it will be too difficult to have a chance for students to talk. But to make it lesser, if we are going to have, let me say, a little number, if we are going to have a class of 30, the chances for students to talk will be more. So what does it mean? Once you have smaller groups, the chance for students to talk will be more. But if you have larger groups, you are going to minimize the time for each student to talk. This is the idea. So here, most of the activities to be done according to CLT in small groups. When we say that the class is of 30, if it is to be divided to 6 groups, each group will have 5 students. 5 students can talk more, rather than if they are having, let me say, larger group of for example, 30 or even 15, the time for each student to talk will be less. Clear or not? Just tell me.
Excuse me, please. The idea is not clear for me. Can you repeat it, please?
Well, yeah, okay. Why? We are talking about a point in which, to answer this question, why most of the activities to be done according to CLT in small groups rather than in a whole group, or let me say in pair group. That is to give chances to students to talk more when the number of the groups will be less. Now, if I ask you, do you have the time to talk when the group is of about 80? Which is better? If I put you in a group of about 80 or a group of about 5? Just tell me why.
5 clear.
Just tell me why. Okay, so
sure.
in the group that you have, a very limited number, the time that you talk will be more. Get the point now? And this is the answer for the question, why is most of the activities according to CLT to be done in what? In smaller groups, to give chances to students to talk more. This is the answer. So small numbers of students interacting are favored. What to say favored? It means that it is better, in order to maximize the time allotted to each student for communicating. In order for these activities to be truly communicative, by the way, I need you just to be with me in the book, because I'm reaching the last 2 lines on page 34. So I need you just to follow me, perfectly, the way that you are going to check what is found in the book and to relate it to my own explanation. Again, in order for these activities to be truly communicative, it was suggested from the very beginning, a student should have a desire to communicate something. And this is very important. What does this mean? We have to make a difference between communicative aim and communicative desire. Communicative aim and communicative desire. What is the difference between the two? Communicative aim, it means that I have the aim, I have let me say, the intention to use the target language. I have the aim or the intention. What does it mean? As a student to, study English language, when I come to class, I have to have this aim in my mind. That is what, when I'm inside the class, I have to use English. This is what we call what? Communicative aim. That is the intention of students to use the target language. This is what? Communicative aim. But when we talk about communicative desire, what does this mean? It means that students are using language to satisfy their personal needs. This is communicative desire. Clear the difference or not? Just tell me.
Yes, doctor, clear.
So if I ask you in the exam, what is the difference between communicative aim and communicative desire, you have to tell me this. Communicative aim, the intention to use the target language. Yes, please. Abdullah, you have something?
Can you repeat the communication desire, please?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat it. Just listen. Communicative aim means the intention to use the target language. The intention to use the target language where? In the class. Communicative desire, that is what? The students aim to use the target language to satisfy his personal needs. What does it mean, personal needs? If we consider, what does this mean when I say communicative means or communicative desires, communicative, let me say, personal needs? What does this mean?
Yes, he needed in situation or in some way.
Now, suppose that I need a pencil. Okay, I need a pencil from another student. Okay, instead of using Arabic, I use English. For example, can you when I say can I borrow this pencil from you? So I'm going to use what? I'm going to use the target language to satisfy my need. What is my need? I need a pencil, but I ask my colleague to give me the pencil using English rather than Arabic. This is what we call communicative desire. Communicative desire. Communicative desire means that I'm using language to satisfy my personal needs. Okay, I feel that I'm tired and I want just to leave the class. I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to say, please, teacher, can I leave? So I'm going to use the target language to satisfy my need. Clear or not? Just tell me. This is what we call communicative desire, using the target language to satisfy my personal need. Any question about this? So if I ask you about the difference, you have to tell me this way.
Excuse me, the communicative aim, it means use it in the classroom?
The intention to use the target language. The intention. I'm not going to use my native language. I use the target language. This is my aim because I'm learning to use the language. This is communicative aim. Communicative desire, using the language to satisfy personal needs. This is the idea. This communicative desire, using the target language to satisfy my personal needs. While communicative aim, the intention to use language. By the way, they are connected, but you have to differentiate them. Okay, Wael, or not just them?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, they should have, you see now. So here, when I say communicative desire, it means that they have a purpose for communicating. You see now, what is it? To buy an airline tickets, to write a letter to a newspaper. So these are the needs. As I told you, I mean, there are different needs for each student, okay? They should focus on the content of what they are saying or writing, rather than on a particular language form. And this is very important. Here, you have to consider for CLT, the focus is on meaning. rather than on structure. Do not focus on the lecture. When we talk about here the structure or the grammar that we are going to use, okay, will not be the focus according to what to CLT. That is, what is the meaning that you want just to what to satisfy? This is what is required. So if the student is using the language, okay, no matter if he say that could I leave the class, or can I leave the class? So the focus will not be on the structure. It is what is the meaning behind this? When I say can I leave the class, it means that the students is tired and want just to leave. So this is the meaning that I got as a teacher. So I'm not going to focus on the single words that are used by the student. I'm going to understand the meaning, and I'm going to give the student permission just to leave the class. So here, this is an example just to say that the emphasis on meaning is required according to CLT rather than the structure. So the teacher will not emphasize this sentence, whether it is perfect grammatically speaking or not. He got the meaning and he respond for the students rather than just to emphasize that the structure is wrong or the structure is not perfect. Clear up to this point or not? Just tell me.
Yes, Dixon.
Okay, so here, if we say this point, it means that what is required is just to satisfy meaning. What is the meaning? Just to make students to transmit, or just to deliver to their teacher. It will be okay. It will be accepted. Okay,
Yes, Dixon,
and even with this, it will make the student train to be fluent rather than just to be hesitant to speak. Okay, if there is a mistake here and there, it will be tolerated because we need just to satisfy meaning. What is the meaning that the student won't just to satisfy? It will be okay. It's just like, I'm going to give you an example. Just like when one of you is going to Britain, for example, or to USA, okay, but he feels that his language is not perfect. He wants us to communicate, even if there are mistakes here and there, but the other people will understand him. Okay, they will not punish him if they are going to make mistakes here and there. Once they understand them, okay, it will be okay. If they understand what is to be said, it will be okay, because here we need just to satisfy meaning rather than just to focus on the grammar. So structure is not emphasized, meaning is emphasized.
Excuse me, please.
Tell me.
May I ask something?
Yeah, tell me.
Are we reading from the book? On which page are we now?
I'm on page 35, the first paragraph.
Thank you.
Well, I'm asking you now and then just to follow me. You have to follow me. You see now, there is an explanation and there is a reading for the book. I explain certain things and you have to follow me which point that I explain. This is one. Second, since the lecture is recorded, you can listen once again and you can check. Got the point now? Because here I'm doing the two things. I'm reading and explaining. Got it or not? Just tell me what.
Yes.
Yeah, for reading, listen to the sentence, listen to the paragraph that I read, and then you are going to check in the book. And then pay attention to the explanation, because you are going to write down the explanation for each paragraph in your notes, because these will be required even for the coming lecture, because I'm going to give you or I'm going to make a daily exam for what we mentioned totally. Okay. So they should use variety of language rather than just one language structure. The teacher will not intervene to stop the activity, as I said. So nothing to be, I mean, focus about the structure, and the teacher will stop the students not to talk, okay? And the materials she realize on will not dictate what a specific language forms the students use either. In other words, such activities should attempt to replicate real communication. What does it mean, replicate? Replicate real communication. It means that we need just to create an atmosphere for students to feel that they are not studying something which is not to be used. You see, we have to make a difference between learning a language and learning any other subject. You know, when we talk about learning, for example, physics, learning chemistry, learning mathematics, learning geography, okay, all these sciences, okay, they have some sort of information just to be given to students, and the students will focus on the, let me say, the science itself. But in language, this is something very unique. When you learn a language, you do not need to feel that you are learning. You have to feel that you want just to communicate rather than just to what? To learn. Again, what does this mean? It means that if you are in a class and you want just to what? To have a language lesson, you have to be given an atmosphere that you are using a language rather than just to learn what is scientifically given, what is scientifically required. So we should look at language not as a science here, but as a tool for communication, as a means of communication. Clear or not, Justin?
Yes, clear.
Clear.
So here, in a language class, do not think of science. Think of language use. This is what we call replicate real communication. That is what? To make students feel that he uses language naturally, rather than just to be artificial. Now, when you are using your native language, you are using your native language naturally, and you feel that you are free, and you feel that you can say whatever you like. Okay, this is what we call what? This is the natural use of language. This is what we need when we teach the target language, to make students feel as natural as possible, okay, as free as possible, okay, and as let me say flexible as possible. This is the uniqueness of language class. We need language class to be what? As natural as possible, as if they are going to talk in the native language. So replicate, what does it mean? We want just to create an atmosphere in the way that the students feel that they are using the native language, because they are going to use the target language to satisfy their needs. It's okay. It means that they are using the target language as the use of the native language. So here, the aim is just to create an atmosphere of a classroom talk to be as natural as possible. We do not need just to make students think of language as science. We need to make students feel that language is something to be as a tool for communication. Clear what is meant by replicate real communication? Any question about this? Yes, Saif, tell me.
Before that one, they should use the varieties of language. What does this mean?
What is it?
They should use variety of language rather than just one language structure. What does it mean?
Okay, when we say variety of language, what does it mean? It means that they are not going to be restricted to one form. That is what. Now, when we are going to teach students, for example, the use of tenses, you know tenses, okay? When we talk about the present continuous tense, do you know how many uses for present continuous tense? To have something happen at the moment of speaking, to have an activity which is unfinished, okay? So these are different uses of present continuous tense. We are not going to restrict the students to one form. We are going to give them different uses of each language form, and they are going to be free to use them all. Got the point now, Saif, or not? Just tell me.
Yes, Ezekiel.
So what does it mean here? Students are free to choose which form will satisfy their needs. So they are going to be submitted with different uses, and there is what we call a variety of uses, and they are going to what? To choose what really satisfies them in satisfy their needs in the class. For example, I'm going to give you an example because this is just to be reflected when there is a real class. Suppose that a teacher is asking suddenly a student, "What are you doing now?" So the students will say,
I
sorry?
answer him.
Well, you no, here when we are talking about this, we are talking about different uses of the form that is to be given, in the way that when the teacher is asking a student at the time of the lesson, "What are you doing?" The student will say, I'm reading the lesson. So what does it mean here? The student knows the situation and react accordingly, because the student knows that there are different uses of present continuous tense, and he chooses what is suitable to the situation. This is the
Yes.
Yes, Kifa, you have something.
Maybe so I answer him, and I choose the suitable situation.
It's not you to answer. I mean here students themselves, when they are given different uses of language, they are going to choose. So here the teacher is not going to oblige students to use one form. They know that we have different forms, okay? But the students will choose what is suitable to the situation of the classroom.
Okay,
Suppose that we are going to give them different dialogues in the way we have shopping, at a hotel, at a restaurant, or if we have different, let me say, ways of using them, polite request, asking for permission, everything, okay? So here students know all them. But here, if the students want just to leave the class, when he say, "May I leave the class?" he is using an expression which is related to the situation itself. He is not going to use one form. He wants just to leave the class, so he is using an expression for what? Asking for permission. So the student
now I see
himself
it's very clear.
chooses the form that satisfies his needs and suitable to the situation of the class. Got it or not, Kifah?
Yes, yes, Doctor.
So the
It's very
choice
clear
is done
now.
by the students, not by the teacher.
Yes, yes.
The teacher
very
is
clear now.
responsible to explain what is new to students, but students are free to choose which form which suits the situation and at the same time satisfy their needs.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. I believe Safe now has no question with this. Safe Salah.
No, Doctor.
I believe that it is clear for you just now.
No, Doctor, it is clear now.
Yeah.
Because then he will repeat.
So
then he will
here,
repeat the
when we say
right?
one form, what does it
After
mean?
they choose.
Yeah, when we say a variety of forms, it means that the choice of language is done by the student, not by the teacher. The teacher will not force students to use one form. Students are given different forms, and there is a variety of using language on the part of students, and the variety is related to different situations in the way that the students will choose the form which suits the situation and satisfies needs. Okay, now we have a figure in the mid of this page. On page 35, we have two tables. Can you see them? Can you see them, please?
Yes, communicative activities and
We have
non-communicative.
non-communicative activities and communicative activities. And these are very important because here we have a comparison. We have a comparison. With non-communicative activities, what do we have? No communicative desire. What does it mean? Students will not use the target language to satisfy their needs, while in communicative activity, a desire to communicate. 2, no communicative purpose. A communicative purpose is found in communicative activities. What is communicative purpose? Communicative aim. Form, not content. Here, content, not form. One language item only, a variety of language items. Teacher intervention, no teacher intervention. Materials control, no materials control. You see here in these two tables, this is a summary of all what we mentioned so far. Clear or not? Just tell me. This is a summary of what we mentioned earlier. It's about communicative desire, communicative aim, form or content, one language item, different or variety of items, the teacher role, the material control, all these things. These two tables are very important. In the exam, I may ask you to explain them. I may give you the two tables and you explain the difference. It's not just to memorize. And by the way, you have to consider that my way in dealing of this material is based on understanding rather than memorization. Keep this in your mind. I'm not going to ask you to memorize anything, but I need you just to reflect your understanding in both monthly exam and final examination. Clear or not? Tell me. Let us agree about this point. Understanding is what is required. So here, if we check what we are dealing with, we are not reading and we say that this should be memorized and this should be memorized. No. You see now, I'm very, let me say, concise, and here I'm very accurate with the very, let me say, detailed explanation of each sentence. So what I need you just to consider all what we have. This is the way that we are going to deal with this material. That's why.
Excuse me, can you
explain the third point that
In the
is
table?
yes,
The table?
form not content, content not form. What does this mean?
Yeah, I explained this earlier, if you remember, when we said that if the student is saying something, the teacher will not focus on the form. He focuses on the meaning. That is meaning. That is the content here. Meaning means the content, and content means the meaning. Here, when we talk about this, the student, when he uses the language, okay, we are behind what meanings he wants just to, satisfy, or what meanings that he wants us to convey, rather than the structure or the form of the language that he uses. This is what is required in this point. Form means the structure, content means the meaning. Clear, Wael, or not, Dostan?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Doctor, I
Mariam,
have a
you have
question.
something.
Yes,
Yeah,
can
tell me.
you say non-communicative activities? It is related to the rules of the teachers and
No,
communicative.
here non-communicative activities is related to another method, rather than CLT. Got it or not? It's just
Yes.
like we compare CLT with other method. Shall we go ahead or not? Just tell me. Shall we go ahead?
I have a
Fatma?
question.
Yeah,
Yes,
tell me.
when we say the aim of communicative to make learners able to speak in the target language.
Target language, yes.
In the classroom, we say that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the previous lecture, we say the meaning of this way, lifelong learner. We say yes. We say that to make students or learners able to use language even outside the classroom.
Yeah. Well, Fatma, do not mix up between the two, because here we are talking about classroom activities to be done in the class.
Yes.
So here, when we talk about communicative aim, it is not just to be restricted to this only, but here still we are talking about this topic. Fatma, you have to consider this topic. But when we say lifelong learning, this is the aim of CLT as to be generally, rather than just to talk about classroom activities only. Here we are limited to classroom activities. But when we talk about lifelong learning, of course, there is no difference between the two. You got the point now? Lifelong learning, yes, this is the aim of CLT in general, rather than just to talk about the classroom activities only. Of course, CLT is aiming to make students use the language inside and outside the class. It's okay. No one deny this point. But this is not related to classroom activities. You see, now we are talking about classroom activities. Get it, Fatma, or not? So I need you not to mix up between these two different points. Lifelong learning is the aim of CLT in general. But now we are specifying our talk to classroom activities.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. Now, I want you just to be with me in the last paragraph of page 35. Not all activities in CLT occur in either extreme of the continuum. However, some may be further towards the communicative end, whereas may be more non-communicative. The use of authentic materials is important. Okay. Here, I don't know whether you have an idea about authentic material. You know the meaning of authentic material? Anyone who can have an idea?
That use,
yeah.
The material that take from everyday situation.
What does it mean?
That the material that in our life we use in our life.
Yes, and how can it be reflected? How can it be reflected in
that we use regularly daily.
Yeah, yeah, just like what?
Just like when we go to the
Well,
hotel and
let me
as the
explain this.
student
Okay, okay, it's
go.
okay, it's okay, Saif. Let me explain. Here, when we talk about authentic material, that is the material, as Saif said, to be found in everyday life situation. Again, how is it to be reflected in the material? That is, what is the textbook? You know the textbook that we have in the class. Of course, the textbook has different, let me say, items. Dialogues, for example. You know dialogues. Okay, these dialogues should be related to what? To the situations that we have in our life. Shopping, at a hotel, at an airport, okay? Booking a flight ticket, any other situation, okay? At a restaurant, okay? All these things should be reflected in a dialogue, because when I study these things as a student, I need to use them outside the class. So the material, if it is authentic, it means that it is very useful. Okay, I cannot use a material which is not to be used outside the class. Now, when we are teaching the students, we need them to talk. So how can they talk if they do not know which situation and which expression that we use in this situation or that situation? So the material should contain certain materials, certain items that are to be used daily. This is one. Second, when we talk about, for example, passages, we need just to have passages that are talking about something which is what? Which is immediate, which is now to be existing, not just to talk about history or things that are not visible to us. We need just to have something which is updated, updated. Okay, so here, for example, can we have a passage for students now to talk about, the, let me say, classic use of telecommunication, just like telephone, telephone, rather than just to talk about mobiles or things that are updated. So what does it mean here? If the material is in touch with the daily life of students, it will be very useful. But if it is too far, it will not be useful. I mean, students can study only the vocabulary which is found there, and that's it. But what is the benefit of a material which is not related to our life? I need to study English because if I want just to go abroad, I want just to talk with others. So is it useful, for example, to teach students something about, for example, a poem which is written 400 years ago, okay? And the students will not make use of it for their daily life situation. So we need something which is updated, authentic, in touch with our daily life. This is what we call authentic material. So it may be reflected as dialogues and situations. It may be reflected as passages that are related to our, let me say, immediate situation. Immediate situation, just like, for example, social media, the use of social media, okay? The use of, or let me say, online learning. It's just like what we do just now. So these passages will be more useful rather than the passages that are related to things that are related to history. And even if there is something which is related to history, we need something that we know or we studied in a previous material and to be reflected. For example, we study in a subject that is history, but in our native language, no matter just what, to reflect what we have in history, in English lesson, when we have a passage which talks about the same thing. So we need something authentic that the students sense, the students feel, and the students feel that it is useful to use. As I said, it will be reflected in a form of a dialogue or of passages. And we need, for example, even updated vocabulary, vocabulary. We need to know vocabulary that we use just now. Of course, we cannot teach communication by using the language of Old English. Old English? Old English?
Yes.
There are
Yes,
certain
doctor.
words, just like, though means you in Old English. When I say art thou, what does it mean? Are you? Okay? Thy, it means my. Thee, it means you as what? Objective, let me say, position. Okay? When I say thou as what? As subjective form. And thee as what? As objective form. These are not useful just now because this is Old English. We need just to have vocabulary which is updated. And that's why we have different dictionaries that are updated. You see, now we don't have one dictionary. Each year we have a new dictionary because there are some words that are not to be used and to be what? To be left, or to be what? Let me say, deleted. Okay, so we need authentic material in the way that we have a reflection of what? A reflection of daily life situation, just like dialogues, and we have passages in which we have topics that are updated. Topics, when we have passages, we have topics in the way that we are going to reflect what is updated and what is useful to students and what is to be used by students outside the class. I believe that it is clear for the meaning of authentic material. So the use of authentic material is important. It is considered desirable to give students an opportunity to develop strategies to understand language as it is actually used. You see now, actually used. Culture is everyday lifestyle of people who use the language. You remember the point that we discussed earlier when you say that the relationship between culture and language. Who can remember what we said about culture?
We say culture context. Yes, doctor. We use it or we read it, the culture context and their target language.
What does it mean?
Yes,
We
please.
said
Can I?
yes. Why? Yes. Yes. Please. Let us see why. Yes. Why?
Yes. The language it reflects the culture, and when the new thing come to the culture, we need to express about it in language. So we use the language to express about our need in culture.
It's by the way, when we are talking about the target language, we are talking about a different culture. What does it mean? It means that there is a difference between native language culture and target language culture. And with this, as learners, okay, we need just to reflect the other culture when we use language. Now, I'm going to give you a simple example. You see now, in English, we have two greetings, okay? We say good afternoon for one time, and we say good evening for another time, while in Arabic, we have one form. So what does it mean? This is culture. This is culture, okay? So what we need just to use the language as it is used by the native. To use the target language as it is used by the native. Okay, so here, if you check now as users of English language, we use one form. Sometimes we use one form for we say good evening in every time. That is what? A reflection of our culture, and this is wrong. This is wrong. This is in Arabic, while in English, we have to check our time. From 12 to 5, we say good afternoon. From 5 onward, we say good evening. You see now? This is a reflection of the foreign culture, sorry. Here we are as learners to use the language as it is used by the native. This is what we call a reflection of the culture. We are not talking about our culture, our Arabic culture, no, because here we are aiming to use the target language, and with the target language we use what reflects what is reflected in the foreign culture. Okay, there are certain aspects of it, they are especially important to communicate. We move to page 36. Page 36. One of the basic assumptions of CLT is that by learning to communicate, students will be motivated to study a foreign language, since they will feel they are learning to do something useful with the language. You see now, our aim as teachers to motivate, and this is very important, to motivate students to to use the foreign language, because this will make them feel that they are learning to do something useful. Also, teachers give students an opportunity to express their individuality by having them share the ideas and opinions on a regular basis. Okay. To make some sort of encouragement for students to express their own feeling, opinions. You remember in the first course when we have essay writing, if you remember. Yes. I gave you a type of essay, that is what, a argumentative essay, if you remember. And I was giving you chances to express your own personal ideas. This is the aim of learning a language. That is what, to make language, okay, a real means or a real tool to express what you have in your mind. So here, students should encourage, should be encouraged. Students should be encouraged by the teacher to express their individuality. What does it mean, individuality? That is what do they have in their minds? So here, as to be compared with the audiolingual method, students are parrots. You know parrots? They are repeating what the teacher is saying. While here in CLT, no. Students are able to express their own personal opinions, personal thoughts, or what they feel. Got it or not? Just tell me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Students' security is enhanced by the many opportunities for cooperative interaction with their fellow students and teachers. Okay. Now, we move to the second paragraph, and it has very important point. That is what? Language functions might be emphasized over forms. This is very important. Now, of course, we discussed the teacher role, the student's role, the classroom activities. Now we come to language itself. Now the question, what to teach about language itself? Do we teach structure, form, or what? Here, according to CLT, the emphasis will be about language functions rather than forms. I'm going to explain this in this example. Now, I want you just to follow me and to consider what I'm going to explain. I'm going to have here in this example to show you the difference between language form and language function. Suppose that we are going to talk about this word. Okay. Now, can you see this word? Can you see it? It is can. It is can. According to form, what is can? Can is what? Modal auxiliary. Okay. What is can? Modal auxiliary. But here, if I ask you how many meanings that we can express with this modal auxiliary. Modal auxiliary is what? Is the explanation of this word, grammatically speaking, syntactically speaking, and according to form. But if I say ability, what is ability? What is ability? What is ability? Ability is the meaning of can when I say, for example, I can print. What is I can print? What is I can print? It is the context in which can is to be used to express ability. So this is what? This is form, modal auxiliary, and this is function. Got it or not? Just tell me. Any question about this or not? Can you differentiate between form and function? Can you differentiate between form and function? Sorry?
Can you repeat?
Yes. Again, we said about this word. Okay, this word, if we can explain it grammatically speaking, considering form, we say that this is modal auxiliary. But if I ask you how many meanings that we have for can, you are going to say can expresses ability, expresses possibility. If I say you can stay or leave, this is what? Just like may, you can stay or leave. This is not ability. This is what? Possibility. And then if I say can I leave, what is it? Asking for permission. If I say can I help you, this is offer. Okay. And when I say, can you help me? This is polite request. So you see how many meanings that we have? These meanings are functions. Functions of can.
You mean many functions for one form?
Many functions for one form. So for CLT, the emphasis on functions rather than the form. Clear or not, Justin? Any question about this?
Clear.
Fatma, you have something?
No, doctor, it's clear.
Okay, in this, excuse me, doctor, you mean in this method we use it for example, for learning, for our needs, for scientific study, for all these, but it is one way to teaching. This is what you mean.
Here I mean that when we are talking about language, I mean the structure, okay? We emphasize functions rather than the form. I'm going to give you another example. We have present continuous tense, okay? We have present simple tense. We know the structure, that is subject is am, VING. This is what? This is the form. But if I ask you how many meanings or how many uses for present simple tense, you are going to say for present continuous tense, we have the use of let me say, this structure when there is something happening at the time of speaking, when there is unfinished activity. And when we talk about present simple tense, you are going to say that it expresses a fact or general habit, okay? These things are emphasized in CLT rather than the structure itself. So here, if there is a question How can we teach language? You are going to say language is taught by emphasizing functions over forms. We are not behind the structure. We are behind the meaning behind the structure. And that's why you see now the failure of our students when they are taught at least 8 years, 9 years English, but they are not able to speak. Now, if you are going to ask a graduate from a secondary school to speak in English, you cannot, because the emphasis is on what? Is on the structure. Only the pattern, you know, pattern. Present simple tense as V. Present continuous tense as is R and VING. Present perfect tense subject has, have, past participle. But tell me, what are the uses of these things? How can I use these things? No emphasis about these things.
دكتور عفوا.
Yes, tell me.
دكتور, you mean study the topic from all sides?
No, no, no. I need you just to consider that language, the structure of the language, the grammar, okay, Zainab? How can we teach grammar? How can we teach grammar according to CLT? We emphasize functions rather than forms. If I teach tenses, I'm going to consider the meaning, not the structure, not the pattern.
Forms.
This is the idea. This is the idea. This is the idea.
Yes.
Language functions might be emphasized over forms. A variety of forms are introduced for each function. Forms are presented from simpler to more complex. What does it mean here? It means that there is a gradation. You know gradation? I begin with the simpler and then I move to the most complex structure. Okay, what does it mean here? Sometimes I have different forms of one function. You see, if I say ability, how many forms for ability? I can use can. I can use is able to. I can use capable of. Okay, we have 3 forms for ability. So I can begin with can because it is simple, and then I move to able to, and then I'm going to move to capable of. Get it now or not, Justin? So we have gradation. We begin with simpler and go to the complex. Students work with language with the suprasentential or discursive level. This is very important. Now here, when we are talking about language, we are talking about context, not as separate sentences. When we teach, for example, language, we teach it in a form of a paragraph, in a form of a passage. So here, when we teach grammar, we teach grammar through passages. We are not going to teach grammar about single sentences that are to be written on the board. No, we teach grammar through passages. Why passages? Because we have context, and this is what we call suprasentential level. That is not to be given as separate sentences. No, within a context. So grammar will be taught through passages, through context, rather than just to be given as separate sentences on the board. They learn about cohesion and coherence. Well, for this, I'm not going to explain. You know coherence and cohesion or not? Just tell me.
Yes, student, they will discover the structure.
Yeah, well, coherence and cohesion was explained fully by me in the first course, and you know them. What does it mean? They work on all 4 skills from the beginning. This is very important. How many skills do we have for language? We have 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. All of them will work all together, and we are not going to leave some, and we focus on some. All language skills will be done in a single lesson: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. All them will be trained, all them will be developed, all them will be given in a single lesson. We have listening, we have speaking, we have reading, we have writing in all when we have an activity to be done in a class. The oral communication takes place through negotiating between speaker and listener, whereas meaning is thought to be derived from the written word through an interaction between the reader and the writer. You see now, when we talk about listening and speaking, of course, it will be done oral. It will be done oral. That is, for listening, we have, a recorder, and then students will listen, and then they are going to react to answer questions about what they listen. For speaking, of course, it will be an activity for speaking in which we have a speaker and listener. But how about reading and writing? Of course, through written medium. That is what, for reading, we have passages. And they are going to, students, they are going to have something about reading when they are going to answer the comprehension question about the passage to be given. This is one. Second, for writing, of course, there are activities for writing a paragraph, writing an essay. All these things will develop the skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening and speaking will be done oral, reading and writing to be done by a written form. Judicious use of students' native language is permitted in the CLT, and this is very important. Now, there is another important point just to be said. It's about the use of the native language. Do we use native language? Do we neglect the native language? This is what we talk about, for example, Arabic. Now, there is a question. Do we use Arabic language in CLT lesson or not? Is it to be, not allowed or allowed? This is the point. Here, according to CLT, we are not going to say they are not going to be used. No, it will be used, but where necessary. Where necessary. This is the point. So it will be used, but not all the time, because here the aim just to speak in the target language. That is when there is something which is too difficult to be explained in the target language. If there is something totally new, there is nothing to be compared for things to facilitate difficult task or difficult vocabulary. That is the way that we use native language. But other cases, no, it is not allowed. That is the meaning of a judicious use of the student's native language. But the target language should be used whenever possible, not only during communicative activities, but also for explaining the activities to the students or in assigning homework. You see now, so it is the target language also used when we are giving directions. For example, open your book, close your book, listen to me, pay attention to me, okay? All these things. This is when the teacher is using the language with the students. He is not using the native language for giving directions and assigning homework. And to realize that the target language is a vehicle for communication. Evaluation is accomplished for both accuracy and fluency. What does it mean, evaluation? That is the examination. Here, how can we have examination according to CLT? For CLT, we have things to be done for fluency and things to be done for accuracy. Of course, for accuracy, we have written examination in which we have correction for the mistakes. And for fluency, of course, we make students to practice the activities orally without stopping them. And in this, we have activities to be done for the emphasis of fluency, and for accuracy, we have the written examination to have the correction for the mistakes that are done to be in the class, maybe in a form of questions, written questions, and to be given to students, and students are responsible to answer, and then we have a correction, and with correction we have accuracy. Students who has the most control of the structure and vocabulary is not always best communicator. Evaluation, and here, by the way, I want you just to move to page 37, to be done informally for students' performance by the teacher in his role as an advisor or communicator, or by using let me say, integrative test. Errors of forms are tolerated during fluency-based activities and seen as natural outcomes of the development of communication skills. Students can have limited linguistic knowledge and still be successful communicators. The teacher may note the errors during the fluency activities and return to them later with accuracy-based activity. Okay, with this, we are going to stop our lecture. To the theory of language. It will be discussed for the coming lecture. I believe that we covered most of the points that are found in the first topic. What I need you is just to reread what we have in the book, to listen once again to the let me say to the recorded lecture, and if you have any question for the presented material, please don't hesitate to write it on the let me say class before having the oral exam next week. Next week, I'm going to begin with the previous material, the material that we tackled today, and to check your understanding, and then we move to the new material. Any question about what we have so far? Any question?
Excuse me, about our meeting today night with Dr. Kathleen, I mean.
If you have any question about the material, just say, because we need just to, close the recording if the questions that are not related to the material. Any question about the material? No question? Okay.